epic historian presents the Siege of Masada, the ultimate act of defiance. On a clear, windswept night in 73 AD, a massive Roman siege tower rumbles its way up an immense earthen ramp towards the fortress walls of Masada. Roman artillery thunders relentlessly, violently shaking the walls as volleys of arrows rain down. For the besieged Jewish defenders, there David and Goliath struggle with the Roman Empire is reaching its endgame. 70 AD. Jerusalem falls to the might of the Roman Empire as the Great Jewish Revolt reaches its bloody climax. After a ferocious siege, Roman legions breach the city and flood in.
The Siege of Jerusalem is an absolute knockdown, drag-out slugfest. It goes on for 5 months, both sides take horrendous casualties, and as is true with most sieges, once the walls get breached, it gets very bloody very quickly.
Buildings are torched, and the famed Second Temple of Herod is torn down. The survivors are enslaved, and much of the city's gold and silver is carted back to Rome by General Titus, Rome's future emperor. The immense wealth will help fund the empire's most famous building project, the Colosseum.
This is the ultimate insult to injury, because not only is Jerusalem completely destroyed, but all the wealth that the Romans plunder, for the most part, funds the construction of the Colosseum. And to top it all off, the Judean slaves that they bring back constitute pretty much the bulk of the slave workforce that does all of the heavy labor in building the Colosseum. So there is absolutely zero love lost between these two sides.
One by one, the remaining Jewish outposts fall until only one group is left, the Sicarii. Fierce warriors and skilled assassins, they're named for their famous curved daggers. Led by Eleazar ben Yar, the fearsome zealots strike from the shadows, raiding Roman patrols, ambushing trade convoys, and slaughtering collaborators. Rome responds. Governor Lucius Flavius Silva leads over 8,000 soldiers and auxiliaries of the legendary and battle-hardened 10th Legion, Legio Fretenses, into the harsh Judean desert.
The 10th Legion is legendary. They're known for being absolutely ferocious and disciplined in battle, and they just happen to specialize in siege warfare. You could not have picked a worse legion to go up against.
Almost 1,000 Sicarii men, women, and children fall back to their mountain fortress of Masada. Fortified by King Herod a century earlier, it's perched atop a soaring plateau, with sheer cliffs offering excellent natural protection. It's ringed with casemate walls, dozens of guard towers, and has a commanding view over the entire valley. Built specifically to withstand a prolonged siege, it features several large cisterns that capture and store rainwater, along with large caverns capable of storing up to 2 years of food. The defenders believe time is their ally. But Rome has no intention of waiting that long. The Sicarii have gravely underestimated their enemy. Instead of returning to Jerusalem, the ruthlessly efficient Roman war machine goes into overdrive. Food, water, wood, iron, and other materials are brought in from nearby towns. Within a few days, the Romans erect a 2.5-mile circumvallation wall around the entire plateau, over 8 feet high and 6 feet thick, complete with 8 fortified camps and over a dozen watchtowers sealing off the entire area, and all built by hand. The Jewish defenders are on their own.
The circumvallation wall is about 2.5 miles, but when you factor in the walls that go around all the different camps and forts and guard towers, it's more like 5 miles. And the Romans do all of this in just a handful of days.
But despite their numerical superiority, the 10th Legion has a problem. The only access to Masada is a steep, winding approach known as the Snake Path. But attacking up this path, single file, would be suicide. The Romans need another way in. From the valley floor, Lucius Silva quickly surveys the daunting situation. To breach Masada's walls, they'll need a ramp large enough to support a siege tower. But 3 sides of the plateau cliffs are incredibly steep and 400 feet high. Such an undertaking would take months and tie down one of Rome's most formidable legions. However, the western side is shorter at around 300 feet and has a more gradual incline. Silva's engineers quickly spot a large rock spur that will provide stability, shorten the construction distance, and require less material. But even with this shortened distance and natural base, it still presents the Roman army with a seemingly impossible task. Build a man-made mountain in the middle of the harsh desert and build it fast. This Herculean feat will result in a massive precision ramp, stretching over 600 feet from the Roman positions and rising approximately 350 feet straight to the walls of Masada, taller than both the Statue of Liberty and Big Ben.
Just to give you an idea what the Sicarii are witnessing, imagine for a second that you're standing on Westminster Bridge in London, and you're looking up at Big Ben, the Elizabeth Tower. Now imagine a bunch of Roman soldiers are there with essentially just pickaxes and baskets, and they build this huge earthen mound that goes up to and taller than Big Ben. It's unbelievable.
Today, moving thousands of tons of earth and stone would call for massive excavators and trucks. For the Romans, they'll accomplish the same with sheer manpower. So, instead of the gladius, they turn to one of their most reliable tools, the delabra. Perfect for chopping wood, breaking stone, and digging earth. It turns an already fearsome legionnaire into an integral part of a relentless engineering war machine. They begin by clearing loose earth around the spur and bring in larger stones to set a secure foundation. After the foundation is set, continual layers of stone and earth are added. Local stone is broken down and carried along with baskets of earth to the construction site. As each layer is completed, water is added to ensure the materials bind into a compact, flat, and stable surface. As the height and width continues to grow, the Romans bring in large timber bracings to prevent collapse. Stone by stone, basket by basket, the defenders look on in horror as the Roman mountain rises towards the walls of Masada. All they can do is hurl down rocks, arrows, and spears. Palisades are erected on the ramp to shield the workers from enemy fire, while Roman artillery hammers the fortress with stones, bolts, and flaming debris, pinning the defenders behind their walls. Archers take up positions alongside the workers, loosing deadly volleys to provide continuous cover. As the ramp nears completion, the Romans prepare their siege tower. At around 80 feet tall, it's covered with iron plating to protect against fire and projectiles, while its multiple levels bristle with archers and siege weapons. All of this protects the most important part, the battering ram. After only 2 months of relentless work, everything is ready. The sound of wheels grinding on rock fills the air as the final act begins. The Romans push the siege tower up the ramp until it reaches wall. The Sicarii fighters try to set fire to the tower, but the wind is blowing against them, and the relentless torrent of arrows, bolts and stones from Roman archers and siege weapons is too much. The huge battering ram repeatedly slams into the wall, and before long it begins to crumble and then collapses with a deafening roar. The Romans set fire to a final wooden barricade before retiring to their camp for the night. At dawn, legionnaires pour through the gap. But instead of swords and war cries, they're met with eerie silence. According to historian Flavius Josephus, inside the fortress, they find the lifeless bodies of almost all of the nearly 1,000 Sicarii defenders. Only a tiny handful of women and children are still alive. The night before, the remaining Jewish rebels had chosen death over a violent end and enslavement. But not wanting to violate their deep faith, which forbade suicide, they had drawn lots. 10 men were given the grisly task of killing their fellow comrades and families, and then each other, so that only the one remaining would have to commit suicide. Historians and archaeologists disagree on many of the details, and more research is needed. But the epic story of the Siege of Masada has struck an emotional chord for generations. Those who awe at the power, ingenuity, and relentlessness of the Roman Empire, and the defiance of the Sicarii defenders who refused to yield to it. Masada is a cultural cornerstone for the modern state of Israel. Every year, IDF recruits in a special ceremony all recite the same words: Masada shall not fall again. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, you're highly encouraged to conduct your own siege on the stoic like button. And if you'd like to support the channel, please consider supporting us on Patreon. You'll find the link in the description below. And as always, this is your epic historian, so please let us know in the comments what you would like to see next.